Fire for your mind. Kosher Clinician.
AWOL. They think military, absent without leave. But some men are using the term differently. They say AWOL now stands for American Women Offer Less cooperation, less appreciation, less commitment, less peace. The question is, are these men seeing reality and why it matters? Watch this truth.
This is a little strong, but for men who are dating, I would definitely, I'm getting this from the men themselves, but I would definitely start maybe really looking at it and avoiding liberal women.
The most dangerous person in this country is a female white liberal. That's not being racial. No, that's true. That's just based on policies that they support, the language they use, and how they actually look at black people. I would argue it is the female white liberals who were behind the
if they're too liberal. And I say that because liberal women tend to be more denigrating of men. They also are more emotionally unstable. Jonathan Haidt, who's a psychologist, did studies looking at the liberal women. They found that their mental health is the worst of all the groups. They spent.
You're making your voice heard. What do you think we're doing?
I agree with you. I'm happy you're making your voice heard.
Go on another corner.
I'm just trying to make my voice heard. This is a public sidewalk. You guys have an event happening in public. I'm allowed to be as much as you do.
Honestly, and I'm probably going to get eaten alive for saying this, I feel like a lot of women have forgotten their place. And we live in this inverted world. And I feel we got stuck in this whole feminism thing. Feminism is a scam. And now it's like trying to undo. It is. Feminism, I don't care what anybody says. Yes, we are equal in value, but we are not equal in traits. We are different. Men and women are different.
I agree with that.
And I'm so sick and tired of why are we fighting to be something that we're not? I am not a man. I will never be a man. And for those of you that make that decision, I love that for you. Period. But there are certain things that are just, y'all are stronger than we are. We are more detail oriented than you are. There are certain traits that we naturally got from God based on the gender that we are. And it's all based on survival. It's all based on human nature. And so I feel like a lot of women, not all women, but most women have forgotten their place.
Within themselves,
within the order of family, within the order, even like with God. You know, if you just want to start blanketing statements, like, now this is the thing. If you are a masculine woman, that's fine. But stop acting like you're feminine. If you want to be a boss babe, I don't need no man. You go do you, boo. But stop teaching that that's the answer. Because I'm sick and tired of this divide of the family. I'm sick and tired of now good men, I'm listening to like stories, right? Good men are getting lazy in dating. They're getting lazy in the pursuit because women are making either everything too easy or they're too hands off. So now what's the point in even trying to date a woman when you're the man that you want me to be?
And they say, you know what? A lot of the men, the women have created this mess and now they're angry. And most men have just opted out. I used to call it on strike, but a lot of the men corrected me and said, no, we're not on strike. We're gone.
We're gone.
We're done.
Right. They're done. Yeah.
Because a strike would imply I'm coming back.
I'm coming back. Yes, ma'am.
No.
Yes, ma'am. I totally agree.
Yeah. And I think
Cognitive dissonance is a condition that happens for a myriad of reasons. Many times in modern America, men and women often do one of the following. They deny the evidence. They become enraged when you present them with the evidence. They argue do ad hominem attacks, meaning they attack the messenger instead of the message. And they will fight you or flee because they cannot hear what you are saying. And conditions such as this, tied into cognitive dissonance, often happens to those that have or lack self-awareness. They stay in a perpetual cycle of arrested development, exhibited by this. Fire! All right. Kosher, Clinician.
If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads picking back up and young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Absent fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters acting like vultures. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.
To start, I got my man Paul Edom in the house. Looking forward to this powerful and thought-provoking conversation. Guys, get your pen and paper ready. Share this stream as Paul Edom and I are going to be talking about why broken men destroy weak men. And also, guys, go get your t-shirt. I'm going to be selling this merch at some point. A new term I created that parents mid-toe called AWOL. American women offer less, or average women offer less. If you're not an average woman, then I'm not talking to you. It's only for women that personify those things that we're talking about. So I got my distinguished guest, Paul Edom in the house, one of the purveyors of men's spaces. He was in the movie, the documentary called The Red Pill. And we're going to talk about some of the current trends that we see in modern dating America, and while this current ethos that we live in must de-evolve in order for it to re-evolve again. So without further ado, guys, I got my man in the house, the talented, the inquisitive, the altruistic, Paul Edom. Hold tight. Let me bring Paul up. Tight. All right, Paul, how you doing, brother? What's going on?
I'm
man?
doing great, man, and
Pleasure
glad to
to see
be
you.
here. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Paul Edom, listen, man, you have a new moniker called Rebuilding the Manosphere.
It's repairing, actually.
Repairing the manosphere, right. And so before we delve into that, I want you to tell the audience who you are and why are you so passionate about male advocacy and also men getting the best outcomes possible to circumnavigate this crazy maze that we live in modern America.
Well, it's a long story. I'll try to make short, going back about 40 years or so that I've been working. I started out my career working in chemical dependency treatment, had many decades of experience there. And somewhere along the line in 1993, I came across Warren Farrell's Myth of Male Power, and read that. It explained a lot to me that it had made me scratch my head for years. I knew that there was something wrong out there about the way men and women interacted and even how we treated men and women in clinical settings. There was something wrong with that, but I could never put my finger on it because I had bought a lot of the feminist mythology and had my inner white knight was just raging and ready to rescue women. So my thinking was blocked. But once that was opened up, I started asking questions, and the questions got me, that little piece you did introducing this about the way people react to hearing information that creates cognitive dissonance. That's exactly what I saw.
Yes, sir.
From
Right.
mental health professionals.
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
talking
Yep.
about people
Yep.
on the street.
Yep.
I'm talking about LCSWs and LPCs and
Yes.
PhDs across the board. Man, it's like, well, wait a minute. This is kind of hateful toward men, isn't it? Aren't we stereotyping them? Oh,
Right.
man, they didn't want to hear that.
They didn't want to hear it. Right.
And it was on. And that sort of kick-started me. I started writing about men's issues. I started out just writing letters to the editor. When I would see misandric stuff put in the media, I would write about that. Every once in a while, they would publish them. Sometimes they would publish them and mock them after I wrote something in. Then the internet really sort of came into its own, and I started off in the forums there, talking to other men, writing about these issues, started writing articles later on in 2009. I launched avoiceformen.com, and it quickly became pretty much the online flagship for the men's movement, and is still up today, all these years later, doing its thing. And that work eventually caught the attention of Cassie J, the young feminist filmmaker, who came in and did her thing, made the movie, and during the process got her eyes open, very much like I got my eyes open when I read Warren Farrell's work. And it totally changed her world and the way she saw these issues. And at the end of it, of course, she declared she was no longer call herself a feminist after taking an honest look at what feminism was about. And it sort of progressed from there. I've done a lot of things since then. I run XY Crew, which I think is a very vital thing to have men's spaces where women are not allowed to participate, where the guys can connect with each other. And then I've recently, about a month ago, I started the weekly Repairing the Manosphere content, addressing what I see is a lot of gynocentrism and weakness in the manosphere.
Right.
And that pretty much sums up the 40 years there in what, about 45 seconds.
Yeah, you did an awesome job breaking that down, man. And you're right. There is a lot of cognitive dissonance and a lot of confirmation bias in the clinical world, which in essence, many times it prevents men from actually being part of it. Sadly, our profession now has metastasized into social justice ideology and wokeism. And that wokeism is not synonymous to healthy relationships. And, you're right. There are some women that come into men's spaces that are genuine. But I would say that percentage is small. Many come into the space to co-opt men's spaces and to more or less push their own agenda and to circumnavigate the conversation so it goes back to them, because men keep forgetting that women by nature are highly solipsistic. A woman that's not solipsistic is a godly woman that's centered, but also she's practicing the virtues of godliness. But those women are far and few in between, because I was listening to your podcast and I was like, man, me and Paul, I did these shows. One of the shows, Never Bow, a year ago, but then the Inner Sanctum of Masculinity, that was done about 4 years ago. And I was speaking something profound then. And I had an epiphany, Paul, because I did grow up in church. I grew up in the Pentecostal church. But it was always this struggle for parishioners to call out maladaptive behaviors in women. And they always use men as a scapegoat to justify the pathology instead of standing on business and holding men and women accountable equally. And so because of that, now you're seeing marriage rates begin to drop. You're also seeing men leaving churches in greater masses, because men by nature are communal. And there was a time men could coalesce together, during war, during hunting, during war stories, during war trips or whatever, and we could just coalesce together. But now in many men's spaces, even in the broader media, it's like the host, I mean, I'm not against women being in men's shows, but the co-host or the host got to be a woman, and we never saw that. I didn't see that, and so men got to tap dance and be careful. You got a woman dressed pretty with provocative clothes on, and the men sitting back, and I'm tired of it. Let men have their autonomy, like The View. The View is all women. I don't have a problem with that. They got the right to have their show, and let men have their show without the influence of women. Go ahead. I know you're about to say something. Go ahead, bro.
Well, no, I'm just going back to the church. I mean, I think it's for the past, I would say at least 30 years, maybe more like 40 or 50 years, the safest thing that any clergy can do from the pulpit is to bash men and praise women. That's what they've been doing. And they've participated fully in this rift between men and women, the natural connection that we have to each other. The clergy has been just as responsible for creating more divide as the mental health profession and the media and our governments and politicians and especially higher education. All of these things have come together to force a wedge between men and women, and it is literally destroying our society.
Yeah, it's destroying our society, man. And I've told some of my friends, and I said I know they mean well, but I said there got to be a de-evolution in order for this thing to evolve. And maybe it'll be the aliens when they do come, because the government, they're talking about, they're gonna run a probe on some of these modern women. They're gonna find so much DNA in them that they're gonna create hybrids. And so
well, that would give another chance for a woman to be a victim.
And
this time it's the aliens. At least they can quit blaming human men for a little while.
I like that. I like that one. That's a good one, man. But listen, let's be clear. You've been married in a non-state supported marriage for so many years, and I've been married. I mean, fortunately, I got married at a time before I heard the knowledge now, but I've been married to my wife for 33. And we had our ups and downs, but yeah, ups and downs. But there was a time where I said, you know what, something is wrong, man. I was like you. I said, something is wrong. I grew up with 3 sisters, and my mom passed away last year, and I love my mom, bless her heart. But I said, something is wrong. My inner masculinity was saying something is wrong with the current culture that we live in, because it's like I felt like I was always trying to do things to appease women instead of doing things and doing what's best for us. And then men have been conditioned to see women as sugar and spice and everything nice. And they're not. Women are human. Just like men are human. They're not these benevolent creatures from outer space. They're just human beings. They smell, they pass gas, they urinate, they defecate. They do just like you and I do. But this deification of women is not tied into rationality, because what it does, it keeps men in a stupor, and also it can keep men in a state of arrested development. I did shows years ago, and I used the concept. I said men should never fall in love, because when you fall in love, you're really telegraphing your own destruction. The scripture was clear when it came down to Samson. He said, cast not thine strength to a woman. But when you love your woman within reason, you still love her, but your love for her never supersedes your greater call and your greater purpose.
Yes, scripture tells us that message with Samson, with David, with Herod. I mean, you go right down the line. The Bible is one allegory after another of men falling to women, losing their values, worshiping other gods. It is one story after another warning us against this, and yet we go into our church and we hear kind of the exact opposite from the Pope.
Yeah. I totally agree. I agree with you 100%. AWOL it's a new MGTOW. Dr. Helen Smith and I did a show, and I would say it's not the new MGTOW, it's part of the new MGTOW, because men are saying now that while there's a subsection that's walking away altogether, there's also a new awakening. In the Army, AWOL stood for absence without leave. But now men are not asking for permission to walk away. They're just doing it. And it's having a cataclysmic effect on dating and relationships, but also the population. When did you begin to see, Paul, the precipitous decline of relationships and how men interface with women in general?
I think it was in the 80s for me when I noticed it the most. I came of age in the 70s. Men and women kind of liked each other. back then. I mean, there were tensions, like always, because of our differences.
Right.
But there was still a general atmosphere of acceptance between men and women, and there wasn't all this overt misandry and men are pigs and men are trash. You hear a little bit of it, but it wasn't a prominent voice in the culture.
Right.
80s was when the feminists came in and started taking over academia. And over mental health training, all the education in the liberal arts. Feminists came in and started teaching everything from feminist theory. And then by the time we got into the mid 90s, it was on. There was an official war on men. End of story. It was declared men are the problem. And that was one of the, not just developmental stunting that happened, but there became a mentality that men didn't have problems. Men are the problem.
Right.
And that's even in our mental health. You look at what the APA is doing these days.
Yep. You're right.
It is men don't have problems.
Right.
They don't need help. They need to straighten up and fly right. They need to learn how to treat women with more respect, as though men don't do that. As though men don't bend over backwards all the time trying to be nice to women.
Right.
No. Here's it. They look at the 1% of men that do terrible things and say that's all men. Or on the other end of that, they'll look at the 1% that make it to the top and say that all men have the power. The other 98% of men in between are totally invisible.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that out. Tavis Smalley, he was a black commentator in conservative media, said that when white America get a cold, black America get the flu. And I will argue that average white men and working class white men and black men never had nothing to do with rich white oligarchs that conspired in ivory towers to create policies that were more or less adversarial to men. Sometimes men look. I'm Gen X. I was born in '71, and I'm like, I ain't had nothing to do with this. Why am I suffering for something I had nothing to do with? I didn't create policy. I didn't oppress no woman. I didn't beat no women. I ain't done none of that. But you mean to tell me that I'm part of the problem? Even sometime in graduate school and sometime in school, you have these liberal white men that say, well, we need to do this. I'm like, what is we? I didn't create any policy. I was an innocent bystander. And so, many times, Paul, people say that men like emotional intelligence. I will argue that men have a lot of emotional intelligence, because a lot of times
roughly all of it.
Right. Men have a lot of emotional intelligence because
we have to.
We have to, right? We have to. And so when I hear these women say, well, I want a man to be emotional in tune with his emotions, and he need to understand me. Happy wife, happy life is emotional intelligence. Mama knows best is happy. It's emotional intelligence. I had a family member told me, he said, well, call my family member boss lady. I said, that would never be me. I wish I would call a woman boss lady. I'm the man in my home. The same way I talk to you, I talk to my wife that way. Not being rude, but I'm just an open book. But so many men have been so conditioned, Paul, and it's an ego defense mechanism called introjection. Introjection is an ego defense mechanism where the man tends to internalize the talking points of his mother, and then he identify with women talking points, and then when he hear a worldview that's antithetical to that introjection, he projects out of anger because he's not used to it. That's why I came up with the moniker called death. They deny the evidence. They become enraged when you present them with the evidence. They argue to ad hominem, or they fight you or flee. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well.
For the whole time I've been doing this. I mean, and you can see it on full display across society right now. The last thing anybody wants to hear these days is the truth, which makes our job a good bit harder because there is a formidable resistance to understanding women's nature, the way they behave, and being honest about it. Because if you're honest about it, it means you hate women, which of course is not the trait. Not the truth. We have to be able to speak about these issues and to talk about them honestly, or there's never going to be a solution. And to be honest, I don't think there's going to be a solution to this until there's been some sort of social collapse.
Yeah, I agree.
That allows strong men to emerge and take control again. because look, you don't have to like it. And I get why some women may not like hearing this, but without masculine dominance, there is no order.
Right.
And the result is chaos.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, I've said it several times. My premise was this, Paul, that in order to have homogeny, not only in relationships, but life, the woman has to be disciplined. The woman has to be disciplined. And then if she's disciplined, it creates order. If there's order, there's structure. And if there's structure, there's civility. But when I hear people talking about a community, you can't have a community without being disciplined. When I taught school, the teachers, the principals will say, well, why are these kids' grades not proper? Well, they're not disciplined. The scripture says if a man likes discipline, he'll bring himself to poverty and shame. And that's what's happening now. There is no discipline, but also there is no accountability. And I would argue, Paul, that the greatest issue to that is the pathology that should be in the DSM-5 called simping. Simping should be a mental illness, man.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, we would have to diagnose 99% of the male population with that. I mean, it'd be great for third-party billing, but
yeah, that's true.
Not so good for society.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When did you begin to see men simp like they are now? And I'm gonna pull up a clip. But when did men begin to simp the way they're simping now, man? When did they begin to simp, in your opinion? Go ahead.
I think it's been about 200 years. I think it's been ever since we adopted the romantic model. And this is what I really try to stress to men and to anybody who will listen. This model of elevating a woman in importance and in effect making her the leader. She's the one that moral purity flows through, which of course is absolutely crazy. But
it's crazy, right?
That's been the model for about 200 years. And men have killed each other over insulting a woman with the truth. It is a pathology that got spread after the Industrial Revolution, when people started getting married based on feelings instead of the interest of a family and a community. And feelings, it was, to be real honest, it's about women's feelings.
Yes.
And that's why we have this high divorce rate. Women fall in love, they get infatuated. He's the best thing since sliced bread. And then after a year or so, the infatuation really starts to fade. And then they think, okay, well, I don't feel that way anymore, so the marriage has failed.
Yes, sir.
And now, because he doesn't make me feel like this special princess every day, then it's a failed marriage. I need to destroy it, break the family apart, rip the children away from their father. And then we wonder why they score poorly in schools. They don't have masculine influence. They don't get masculinity from the school. They don't get it at home because the fathers have been run out. I think that's where simping came from. It came from the romantic ethic. And we need to, at some point, I don't know how it's going to happen or if it's going to happen until it collapses, but we need to get back to the idea that when you create a marriage and a family, you better be dealing with two grown-ups.
Yes, sir.
That are bringing something to the table.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I totally agree.
And what do women say now? They say, I am the table.
I am the table.
It's all about me. So it's not about their children. It's not about their marriage. It's not about their husband. It's about me.
Right.
And then we say, gee, what's going wrong? Well, of course, when you base pair bonding on this asymmetrical relationship in which a woman, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right? Which is a threat narrative put into a marriage saying, you better make that woman happy or everybody's going to suffer.
Right.
So having relationships like that, based like that, is absolute insanity. And I think we're seeing it play out in 1,000 different ways right now on the streets, in our schools, in our governance, and everywhere you can imagine. We have this sort of we must please woman craziness dominating things.
Yeah, man. I agree with you 100%. And I use this as a moniker, even though the Marines came up with a term called Semper Fi, always faithful. the modern man believes in semper. S-I-M-P-E-R.
Yes.
Simplify. Always faithful to the gynocracy, man. Always tap dancing and doing what Big Mama says. And
if you question that, you better get ready to fight.
I'm there. I'm ready to fight. I'm a Marine. I'll fight. Listen, I've been fighting all my life, man. I fight. I fight because my whole point is, I strongly believe, Paul, that when men subjugate themselves under women's emotions and under their opinion, that they're not serving the Most High, they're serving her emotions. And I will argue, Paul, that men should be more concerned about God's judgment than to be concerned about a woman's feelings. Because when he stand before the Most High, God told the man to lead the woman, not the woman's emotion to lead him. And this gotten so bad now, Paul, that some of these women say that women created men. No, ma'am, no, you didn't. The original woman came out of man. A woman is just an incubator. Right now, Paul, you and I, if we're healthy, can impregnate we can start a whole nation without DNA. If we just got we just need a willing vessel, like the book said. We just need a willing vessel. Every man, you and I right now can impregnate 100 women that are ovulating, and they can all make babies. But a woman can't do that. So the God spark is not in the woman, but the God spark is in the man. But this deification of women, which is tied to occultic feminism and witchcraft, push the woman on top of the man, and the man's supposed to be subjugated to the woman. And the internet has been great for men because men there are waking up. Yep. They're waking up. Because I tell people, Paul, the reason why this whole conflagration came together, I think it's tied to Dr. William Glasser's premise. Dr. William Glasser talked about something called choice theory. He was a psychoanalyst, and he said that there are 5 elemental principles. I know you talk a lot about self-actualization with Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, but the premise of choice theory says that even though choice theory has its limitations, that power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival are the archetypes that helps a man feel like he's thriving and living. Men have been devoid of power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. And now men are beginning to come back together to try to recapture that. And then on top of that too, like I told people say, well, the red pill hates women. No, the red pill doesn't hate women. No. The red pill was a response to the behaviors that modern women did to accost men. And that goes back to Dr. Irvin Yalom. Dr. Irvin Yalom talked about group therapy. I call it cyber group therapy because Dr. Irvin Yalom said some key and important things. He said that examining the evidence was part of group therapy. Catharsis was part of group therapy. Corrective recapitulation, which basically means to go back and correct the things of the past that held you a slave to your own mind. Comparing the evidence, that was part of group therapy. So men actually created cyber group therapy, comparing notes, comparing evidence, and coalescing together and realizing, I'm not crazy. I'm going to do the same thing. How would you respond to that? Go ahead.
Well, first thing I want to say is that I highly recommend both Yalom and Bill Glasser to anybody, and even lay people. This is really great stuff. Bill Glasser's reality therapy book is one of the best things I've ever read.
Yes, sir.
It really breaks it down. It's utterly useless when it comes to dealing with women, but it's very effective for men because we are sort of reality oriented, facts and figures and making logical decisions. But you mentioned guys getting right with God and making that the center of their existence. And I even tell guys that aren't believers, man, you better find something greater than yourself to get invested in.
Right.
If a man without something greater than himself is lost, and I really believe that.
Paul.
And those lost men ultimately start making her something greater to be attached to.
Right.
And she believes it. Women have come to believe that they are God.
Yes, sir. I agree. I totally agree.
And look, and that's not hating women.
It's not.
We got to be able to talk about this. Look at the advertising. Because you deserve it, because you're the best, because you're everything. Men are just mere mortals. This is the message that we get, that women are somehow deities that are supposed to be worshipped. If you go through dating profiles, it'll absolutely turn your stomach.
It'll turn your stomach.
What these? I want a man that worships the ground I walk on.
Yes, sir.
Well,
yes, sir.
Well, lady, you don't need a man. You need therapy and some serious stuff to get over this incredible narcissism that's been inbred into women by our simping culture. And, and this is why I try to tell women, oh, you just hate women. Look, I've got a lot more problems with men than I do with women. Women are just doing what we allowed them to do.
Yes, sir.
You can't be a kindergarten teacher and walk out of the classroom for 2 hours and expect it to be in the same shape as when you left. All these children unsupervised. We have bred women to think they're the be-all and end-all of everything, that they're the moral authority, that their edicts are to be obeyed. And look at the divorce rate. Look at what's happened to the American family that used to be stable. It's not working.
It's not working. It's not working, man. And I've seen so many defeated men in therapy, man. I see so many defeated men. I see women that are married to their husbands, putting them through psychological and physiological abuse, not giving them sex. They weaponize sex for their husbands. And so what we created, Paul, is a cascade of defective women. That came to my cipher. Defective women and compromised men. And the premise is that she's selfish, manipulative, entitled, lacks empathy, always the victim. And then the compromised man, which is the worst one, because simps are dangerous, man. They're weak. They're simps. They have no standards. They are people pleasers, and they are emotionally drained. And listen, Paul, I would argue that in your generation as a young boy growing up, in your dad's generation, when a man got back then was not hoflation. I came up with that term, hoflation. I didn't hear nobody else talking about that until about 4 years ago. But what my daddy got back then was a virgin, wife-ready, no kids. And for the most part, she had a fear of God and she had emotional regulation. You got men now getting women that have high body counts, multiple kids by multiple men, deletions, ran through a lot of them. And they said they want a man to pay all bills. You got women like Vivica Fox that's old, Lisa Ray, old women saying they want a man to pay all bills. How would you respond to that?
I would say find another man. That's my response to that. It's but again, we go back to men being the problem. Is that these are qualities that men are now claiming to be attracted to. You hear guys say, "Oh, I like a feisty woman. I like one that's difficult." And they're attracted to like borderline traits in women.
Borderline traits.
The love bombing, hypersexuality, all this stuff. They consider these things to be great attractors. And so it's like, we could, and you're right. I'm looking at your graphic here. Selfish, manipulative, entitled. They lack empathy. They're always the victim, except, of course, when they're the strong, powerful, independent woman that don't need no man. Then they're not the victim for 5 minutes until you challenge them on that. Then they're the victim again. But this is what men have created with weakness.
Yeah, man. And a lot of it comes from single parent homes. It comes from the lack of having men in male spaces teaching and guiding boys. And a lot of men just don't have stand. I've had men, Paul, that I did therapy with when I was trying to lead them to the promised land. They had a simp psychosis. And they left therapy, man. They left therapy and got mad at me.
And I
was trying to help them.
They were saying, if I listen to this guy, I'm going to be alone the rest of my life. And they don't know that if they embraced healthy habits, not only would they probably not end up alone, they would end up with a much higher quality woman if they were listening to you. But with men, any sense of something getting in between them and whatever woman they're attracted to, including her red flags, they just dismiss it all.
Yep. And they end up being saboteurs of their own ignorance, man. But a lot of men are waking up. Gen Z is waking up, and I said that Gen Z. And shout out to my man St. James Palmer for the $40 super chat. And also shout out to my man Ray Johnson, as St. James Palmer and Ray Johnson are the number one sponsors of the stream. Hold on.
It's the money.
All right. So Gen Z is the new paragon of excellence, Paul.
Yes,
Gen,
it is.
Gen Z,
the males.
the males are right. Yeah. Gen Z, Paul, is saying we ain't gonna sip no more. And I want to show you something. So when I did the show with Dr. Helen Smith, I created two terms. And I tried to contextualize it from the psychological. And one was called the unconscious simp. And that stood for Paul supplementing irrational male patterns of behavior. That's the unconscious simp. He's an unconscious simp because he don't know any better. He doesn't know because he's been clinically introjected. That's his ego defense mechanism. So he supplements irrational male patterns of behavior, meaning if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. I got to pay all the bills, working himself to the bone to please a woman, protect women at all costs, even if he loses life. She's a queen. Mama knows best. That's the unconscious simp. But the next one is something called the conscious simp. Adam was a conscious simp. What he did, he sacrificed important masculine principles because he was more concerned about her feelings instead of being concerned about his moral imperative or his sovereignty as a man. What do you think about those concepts?
Well, I think what we have, and again, I agree totally. Adam's original sin was that he let his wife lead.
Right. That's right.
That was the original sin. Now we have a new original sin now, and it's called being male.
Right.
The feminists have actually used the original sin model and placed it onto masculinity. This is how they get away with declaring us defective at birth.
Right.
But I agree that a lot of simping is unconscious, and it's just training, sort of brainwashing, especially into the romantic ethic. Mm-hmm. But there are what I would call the conscious simps are more like the very active white knights. These are the guys that you'll see come into social media threads, say a woman murdered her children. And some guy will show up and say her husband made her do it.
Right.
It's all his fault.
All his fault, right.
And these guys are really what I call the real form of toxic masculinity. But masculinity, really, I think it's a misnomer to say toxic masculinity. It's an oxymoron, because if you have one, you don't have the other. But if there is a form of toxic masculinity, it's simping.
Yes.
It is perpetuating this model where women are the be-all and end-all of everything. Men have no agency. They have no values that women don't give them. And man, whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's eating away at the souls of men, and has been for 200 years.
For 200 years, right. And I love something you talked about romanticism, and that was so profound because I was telling somebody when I did my show, Never Bow, and I would say in many African traditions, men never would bow. Maybe even some Asian cultures. The bowing is more or less in some European cultures, but it's more of a European construct for the most part in some cultures, not all.
Yep.
And this knighthood, when men would bow Paul to chivalry years ago, it was still defective, but the women were better. They were better women because men had they had a greater locus of control. They could control the situation better. They had more power, and they had an infrastructure that supported chivalry. But now men are being chivalrous to women that don't honor them, don't respect them, Paul, and the dirty word that many don't like, obey. And they struggle, and so dealing with modern women in modern times, man, has made a lot of men saying, listen, American women just offer less, or average women offer less. And before I labor myself trying to prove who I am and give my best, I'm just going to check out. Not because they don't love women, not because they don't want relationships, and not because they don't understand that there are some decent women. It's so far and few in between. How would you respond? Go ahead.
Well, that A could just as well stand for all. in AWOL. And I don't mean to
right.
say that every woman is like this, because there are some decent women in the world. But the standard, I mean, a lot of people, when somebody says not all women are like that, the response, the correct one is enough women are like that.
Enough women are like that, right?
You have enough women in this culture that subscribe to these ethics, and they pat men on the head, which is apparently all a lot of these white knights are looking for. They're looking for a little pat on the head. But I agree with you in that this was a European custom. This came out of the English and the French. And the French were a little bit later in holding on and letting go of some of this stuff. They still wanted dowries past the point that the British did. But the point is ethnicity doesn't matter. Anything doesn't matter at this point. In Western culture, I don't care who you are.
I agree.
You're tied into this ethic.
Yes, sir. You're right. I agree.
Or you're a slave to it. One of
yes,
the
sir.
few.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's honestly one of the few places that I don't want to say I'm happy to see it, but it's one of the few places that black men and white men can truly connect on.
No, I totally agree. Right.
Because
I agree.
we live in that experience.
We live in that
day.
experience. Right.
And I'm with a great woman, 24 years now, but I'm still see that BS out there every day, have to deal with it in some way or another. It is, we have fallen as a culture because of this romantic ethic.
Right.
And now we call it feminism. Feminism is just dressed up chivalry. It's all about women being more important and their needs and their wants and their values, taking precedence over everything. I think we make a mistake to dwell too much on feminism and not enough on the romantic ethic.
I love
because that's what's driving.
That's an excellent point, right? I love that, right? Because even though feminism is looming over the horizon, you can control that. But if you can't control your mind, if you're a conscious simp and an unconscious simp, you're actually exacerbating the problem because you don't realize that you're part of the problem due to your cognitive dissonance. And, and that's why when I hear men say, we got to save the community. We got to save. No, I'm not saving nothing. You're going to serve me up front. What I've learned in relationships, Paul, is that if you don't demand that women serve in any capacity, then they'll make your masculinity cheap. I got another t-shirt, and guys, get your AWOL t-shirt. It's called Masculinity is Expensive. Too many men have made that masculinity cheap to the point it's been compromised, and they don't respect it. Most people respect things that they find of value, but men have learned to compromise their masculinity, and they don't offer anything. I'm going to show you this clip real quick, Paul. Hold tight.
All right,
hold tight. Now, when you listen to some of the vitriolic language of these women, they were all nasty women. You know that the feminists say I'm a nasty woman.
Yeah, they're proud of it.
They're proud of it. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, man.
I'm very familiar with these quotes, and you hear women all the time, and a lot of men say feminism is about equality.
It's not.
It was never about equality. It was always about superiority.
Yes.
It was always about privilege and entitlement. And I've got to point out, every last one of those women in that picture was white. This is where this is where this horrible twisting, and you take a bad ethic to begin with, romantic chivalry, and then you hand it to liberal educated idiots. And they turn it into, I want to see a man beaten to a bloody pulp with a high heel shoved in his mouth like an apple in the mouth of a pig. That's a real equalitarian message there. I'm really getting those vibes real strong.
Right. This woman said it was caused by abuse of me. And that's that.
Of course it was, Cupcake. Everything bad was caused by men.
Right. And listen, Paul, you remember that song back in the day, man, called Everybody plays the fool sometimes.
Oh, yes.
Everybody plays the fool sometime, man. That's part of that paranoid persecution, where it's always the man's fault. It's always men's fault. Or when women do come in trying to talk about what they want for a relationship, they somehow always try to co-opt it and to benefit them. And I'm like, listen, if you're gonna be part of my kingdom, you have to be born again. I'm gonna dictate the relationship. You can have say. I'm not saying you won't have autonomy. I'm not saying that sometime I might defer if what you're saying makes a lot of sense, because women have intrinsic talents that they can bring to the relationship. But I'm not going to be on my knees groveling every time you say something. Yes, dear. I'm not doing that. I know men right now, man. I got a friend I talked to yesterday, man, and his testosterone is low because he's worked the night shift driving trucks. And he knows what's going. He's a conscious simp. He knows that his behavior is adversarial to his mind, but he keeps doing it because he's so been psychologically programmed. Frederick Douglass said that it's easier to repair damaged children than it is to repair broken men.
And I agree with that entirely. And I want to say one other thing about the comment that it's all because of abusive men.
Right.
One of the worst problems we have is that this mentality, the victim mentality, it's always somebody else's fault, is exactly what has fostered this lack of maturity and accountability in women. When you hand them a free pass to say everything that's bad is all men's fault, they never have to look in a mirror with that.
Right.
Every shortcoming they have, every deficiency, every problem they cause in their own life, they ultimately blame on somebody else. And it causes emotional stunting in women. And it's why so many of them emotionally aren't more than 10 or 12 years old.
Yes.
And again,
yes, it's true. It's true.
And I'd argue the same thing is true about a lot of men too.
That's true. I agree.
They're like, they'll enable this stuff. And a man who enables a woman to project blame, to never be accountable, he's not mature either.
I totally agree.
He's not in control of his life.
Right. I totally agree, brother. I agree with you 1,000,000%. 100%. Everything you said is number bars, and it's true. And that's why I said, Paul, like the Amalekites in the Old Testament, they got to die off. Sometimes God said he killed the giants and Nephilim in the Genesis. He had to kill them off. And I'm not talking about literally killing people. You just got to let them die off. They got to die off. Like these men hating feminists. They got to die off. And you know what, Paul? I'm gonna address this color purple narrative that's always been perpetuated against not only black men but white men in general, but especially in the black community. This nebulous premise that all men of that generation were abusive. They hurt women. The women that have any agency, they didn't have a voice, they were barefoot and pregnant. It's always a victim mindset, but they don't talk about how many times the ones they said, well, granddad was cheating on grandma, but guess what? Grandmama was married too. Some of those women were grandmothers that were married to other men, and they were cheating. My granddad was one of them. My granddaddy, bless his soul, he's dead now. But my granddaddy was knocking down the neighbor's wife down the street. She was married. She knew that my grandmama was married, and she rolled in the car with my grandma.
Hey, man. What can you say?
She rolled in the car with my grandma, man. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about how they don't talk about how granddaddy would bring his check to grandmama, and she would spend it. Now, sometimes you had two things. Sometimes granddaddy would spend it and give her the money and give her the check, and she would spend it based on his expectations. Or sometimes he would just give her the whole check and didn't ask anything. And he just assumed that she would use it righteously. How would you respond to that? Go ahead.
Well, I think it's a call to action for men. One, quit giving your paycheck over to your wife. That is a bad practice. I think men need to be accountable and responsible for their own lives, their own finances. And when a guy just goes out and he works 10, 12 hours on a construction site every day and then shows up at home just long enough to hand her the check, and then he's back out the door going to do more work, he's going to come home one day and figure out that she ain't spending the money on behalf of the family.
Right.
She's spending it on herself. There may be necessities she's taking care of, but this is not a tenable. It's 2026, guys. Women have insisted, and I know this causes some conflict with some of my Christian brothers, but I'm going to say it anyway. Women have demanded and received the ability to work, to become educated, to become fully functioning, independent people. It may not be the healthiest thing that's happened for society, but it happened. The days of saying, look, you need to put all that down and just come here and be dependent on me and let me give you all the money and you manage it. That is not a smart approach.
It's not a smart approach at all. Right.
It doesn't make any sense anymore. Women need to have expectations that they bring, and their value may be labor. You know, it is labor, taking care of children, running a home. Those things are important. But just having a baby is not enough. And,
right.
And just putting a DVD in the player of SpongeBob and sticking your kid in front of it is not bringing real value to your home.
Right.
Women need to show up with material value. We had dowry for thousands of years.
Yes, sir.
And there's a reason for that, because they were building a family. It wasn't building a playground for a woman.
Right.
It was actually building a family that contributed to the society around them. And even in the name of God, building a marriage that serves God. Now we have marriages that serve women, and the only way to get it out of there is to quit serving them.
Yeah,
they need to show up and do some service themselves.
Yes, sir. Right. I was talking to a guy, man, he works in law enforcement, and we were talking, and he was talking about how he works and worked long hours. The wife don't cook. She barely cooks. And then she said she expect him to help her with the chores too.
Oh yeah, well, you know what? I could replace her with DoorDash. I mean, if you can be replaced with DoorDash and a broom, maybe you ain't bringing that much to the situation.
Right. Let me play this whole tape off. And, you know, I want to address something, Paul, you know, in the old school, because, you know, a lot of this mess is Marxism. In the old school, and listen, let me be real careful how I say this, because a lot of people use the word partner interchangeably. It's highly innocuous. They mean nothing by it. But I think words have meaning, and it's dangerous. I'm going to tell you why. I didn't hear the word partner until I was in graduate school. I'm like, well, partner? I'm like, what is a partner? And I realized the partner actually came out of the alphabet movement. But partner is tied into egalitarian relationships. And what it does, Paul, it softens the structure and the authority and the sovereignty of the man in the home. So they went from husband and wife to spouse to partner, because partner sound less draconian than husband.
Right.
Sarah said that Sarah called Abraham her Lord. And calling him her Lord it didn't mean she was a slave. It just means she had high reverence. But you got women now, Paul, in the marriage vows, they won't even say obey. They won't even say it. They won't even utter it out of their mouths. Go ahead, brother.
No, I think you're absolutely right. This is what we've created for ourselves. Now, I view this, again, maybe with a little bit different angle in terms of partnership. Mm-hmm. I believe in equal valuing. Mm-hmm. I think certainly in God's eyes, that my wife's soul is just as important as mine. I don't see a difference there. But in terms of partnership, the word doesn't bother me as much. I don't give it a lot of power in my life. Sometimes I refer to her as my partner, but one basic doesn't change. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of talk from guys about leadership in the home and the importance of leadership in the home.
Right.
And what I found was that by selecting well to begin with, by screening out the trash, and there's a ton of trash, and I wheeled a bunch of it to the curb before I found my wife. But still, in my relationship, I am the absolute guardian of the respect that's practiced there.
Yes, sir.
I do not tolerate disrespect in any form or fashion, not out of myself and not out of her. I'm the one that has to set that standard. So in that respect, she's not a partner.
That's the part I'm talking about. Yeah. I don't believe in partnership of power. If you mean partnership of assistance, then that's fine. I don't care about that. But what this is what I've seen, Paul, a lot of times. They want a husband when it comes down to duty, but they want a partner when it comes down to power.
And they want a servant when it comes down to money.
Yeah, right. They want to serve when it comes down to money, and so you have so many men, man. They have minimized their masculinity. They don't even know how much worth they have. I tell men when I traveled abroad, I was in Brazil, I was in DR. I haven't been to Africa yet, but how the women treat men over there. I'm not saying foreign women are perfect, but they are conditioned better. And they treat their men like they reverence their men. You know, they show high esteem to their men. And sometimes their men are nowhere near as prominent as you and I. But I had a guy one time, he was a neurosurgeon, Paul. He made almost $1 million a year. He didn't get no, he got sloppy sex from his wife, not the good kind. He got the Starfish John sex. She didn't keep the house clean. She didn't cook. And this dumb simp kept paying bills. He kept giving her power. And in that perspective, I never understood, Paul, how men will fight grown men to the death, but they're afraid of women. And I realized that it's psychological manipulation. And what a lot of women don't want, they don't want men to come into their evolution. They don't want men to know how much power that they have, because the opposite of hate is indifference. And if men begin to be more indifferent and just don't care, then the women actually lose power. They don't have no power but the power that you give them. How would you respond?
And we're watching them lose it right now. You know, you're right about Gen Z men. They're not putting up with this stuff. None of them. They are really intensely anti-feminist. And, you know, you see clips all the time. Young men, some woman attacks them. That guy doesn't know anything about chivalry anymore. He'll like put her down right quick.
He'll put it down quick. Don't think nothing of it.
And I think that's what women need. Not that they need to be hit, but they need to expect that men will take care of themselves.
Right.
And that you'll get a lot less violence from women that way. If they have the expectation that this guy's going to, you know, smack me in the mouth if I go after him, they're going to quit going after him. Another thing I want to say, especially about the money, is that we're beginning to finally fight the war, what I call the entitlement wars.
Yes, sir.
Challenging women's entitlement. I wonder how many men, after 4 or 5 dates with a woman where they have covered everything, would have the guts to pick up the dinner check and hand it to her and say, "Why don't you take care of this one?"
Right.
And I would say probably 98% of men would never dream of doing it. And they would consider you less of a man if you did, even though she might be a CPA pulling in $300K a year.
Right.
And he's a construction worker. He still thinks it's on him to do it.
Right.
I think we got to wage a war on women's entitlement. And that means when a woman hits a man, he needs to hit her back. He needs to defend himself. And I don't care. I know that upsets a lot of people.
Equal rights, equal left.
Equal rights is equal left. You put yourself in a man's place, you'll get treated like a man.
That's right.
And when you want to show up every night for dinner in a nice restaurant, bring your purse.
Let me ask you a question, Paul, because I want you to add nuance to that. Because some people might say, Paul say, I'm not going to pay anything. Now, there's a difference between being the primary provider and sometimes also she taking care of things as well. You're not saying you don't take care of your woman. You're not saying you don't mind taking her to dinner. You're talking about women that have entitlement issues. Am I clear?
Well, I'm talking about the general contract between men and women.
Right.
This one of you've got to show up as a man, be prepared to take care of me, whatever I want. I need my nails done. I need this and that. I need you to take care of it. Men need to stop doing that. And I'm not saying I certainly contribute to my home. This place is mine, and I take care of my wife, and I expect her to take care of me in many ways.
That's right.
So no, this is not about I want a 50-50 down the line. She pays for half, I pay for half.
Right.
People work out different arrangements, but
That's
this
right.
general attitude of you owe me. And that's what women bring to the table now.
Yes,
their wants and needs and their wish lists from Tiffany's, and you need to get me this, you need to get me that. That mentality is sick.
Right.
It's totally mentally unhealthy. It creates to relationship breakdowns, but men enable it. So what I'm suggesting is, and I agree with your commenter there, Diane, if a woman acts like a man, treat her like a man.
Right.
That's what I recommend. And when they act like women, when they're feminine, when they bring that energy, and by feminine, I mean connected to men in positive ways.
Right.
Bringing their willingness to roll up their sleeves and do whatever to make a marriage work or a relationship
Yes, sir.
work.
Right. I totally
Buddy, I
agree.
love those women. I've got one, and I wouldn't do without one. But these women that show up with wants and needs and say, I am the prize, they got to go. Man,
listen, everything you said, brother, is a mouthful, man. Listen, my wife, when I cut the grass, she don't have to worry about that. But there are times my wife will get out there and get dirty with me. I cut the grass. She'll help me wash the car because I'm 6'5". She's a hobbit. She's about 5 feet. But I'm 6'5", 6'6". I'm a little stiff. But she'll get out there and get clean, get dirty with me, man. You know, she'll get dirty with me. She don't mind going to war with me. And guess what? I don't mind going hard in the paint. But a lot of women now are so selfish that they don't think they have to add anything to the relationship. And that causes a lot of problems, because this is what I've learned, Paul. In relationships where women have to earn the relationship, or there's some visceral fear that man might leave her, she's more dedicated to the relationship. It reinforces her to work harder. But if you just give it to her without demanding anything in return, then she'll never respect it. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I think that's spot on, 100%. And the way I play it out is that I wake up every day prepared to let it go. If that's what it takes to maintain my self-respect and to maintain a healthy relationship is to get out of it, I believe fully that anybody you can't lose will destroy you.
That's right.
Men need to wake up every day prepared to go it alone. Doesn't mean you want to. It doesn't mean you're trying to make that happen. You're trying to keep things together. But if she knows you won't leave, no matter what she does, she will never respect you.
She'll never respect you. Right. I totally agree, man. I totally agree. And the biggest issue that we have now, Paul, is a term I utilize called taxation without representation. I call it the commodification of subjugation. Men are being taxed without being represented. You know,
sure.
There's no representation in the relationship. He's paying. Listen, he ain't paying a regular tax, Paul. Modern men now, Paul, are paying what I call the whole tax. They are paying the whole tax, Paul.
Yes, they pay through the nose. I mean, people are hesitant to look at the numbers here, but we spend about $421 billion annually on entitlement spending for women.
Right.
For women's bad choices. And that is a tax. Men pay the great lion's share of tax money. Women use the greatest lion's share of tax money. And it's been that way for decades. And at the same time, we managed to maintain a culture in which women are running around saying, I don't need a man. No, you don't need a man. You got the government to go take his money and give it to you. It's like, so you don't need him, but you still are looking to men to take care of you. no matter
Right.
what you say.
Right. And you know what I find so crazy, man, to the women that talk trash, I could do it. Listen, you might not need a man for a relationship, but you need mankind. I need mankind. Paul need mankind. We all need mankind. There are certain things I can't do and Paul can't do. I don't know how to create an infrastructure using civil engineering. I don't know how to do it. And I'm sure, Paul, maybe you know how to do it, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to build a
Not
house.
me.
Right. I don't know how to do it. But somehow we make the world so easy for women now that women think they're superior to men. They say, I don't need a man. But you still need a man to come do certain services to your home. You might not need a man for a relationship because you might got a rabbit or a bullet, but you still need a man. And
Well, if men disappeared, it'd take about 6 or 8 hours before the power grid would go down.
Right.
You know, one of the things that men have done, and they've done so well at it, is they built a world in which women can intellectually detach from what keeps them alive. They sit in nice air-conditioned offices or air-conditioned homes. They do light work. Most of women's work is administrative, liberal arts stuff. They are detached and disconnected from the dangerous and brutal underbelly of maintaining a society. They flush the toilet and they think it's the poop fairy coming and grabbing everything and taking it out. And they don't understand that there's men down there with wrenches and hammers and saws and building this and maintaining this civilization that's so magnificent and have done so well at it that women can convince themselves that they don't need a man. They would die shortly without men.
Right.
Absolutely. It is not survivable for women without men.
I totally agree. And I'm glad you said that because it brought something. Tell me what you think about this, Paul. I created a term, and I know you're intellectual, man, and it's going to make a lot of sense. I created a term because I'm very ingenious. But I said, Paul, that men and women both, and you got to hear me clearly, have prize-worthy elements. But watch this. But the man is the master prize consistent with theology, where the Bible said the woman was made for man, and woman came out of man. So man is the master prize, but the woman is his special prize. The term that I created is called the prize catcher. Him being the master prize, she being caught by or being seen as his special prize. The master prize catches his special prize. She's his special prize. He's her catch. He is the prize catcher. What do you think about that?
I like it. I like it. And it's not only theologically sound, it's biologically sound. It's sound in any way you can interpret this. Look, sad reality. Again, if you have a problem with it, take it up with God or take it up with Darwin or whoever you want to get mad at about this. But men are, the main job of women is to create more men.
Yes.
That is their job, is to create more men. And yes, they create more women too, which we need, and they are prizes in certain ways.
Yes,
but
sir.
Civilization is built and maintained by men.
Yes, sir.
And so that's their job, create more men. That makes men the master prize. It does. And it may not feel fair. I can imagine if I was a woman hearing this saying, you know, you're the lesser of the two prizes, a lot of women are going to reject that out of hand. Doesn't mean it's not true.
Right. No, it definitely doesn't mean it's not true. I mean, I would tell them get mad at God. You know, the Bible, that's like me and you saying that we're the prize over God. We're not the prize over God. We were made to serve God. But woman was made to serve God and man. Woman served man on the front end, man served woman on the back end. And the greatest gift that a man can give a woman, Paul, is his life. Greater love have no man than this, than a man will lay down his life for a friend. That's the greatest gift that a man can give a woman. That's the greatest form of simplify. You know, and I know the Marines use it for something different, but my point is always faithful. And you know, for a man to lay his life down, and most men don't mind doing it. The problem is now masculinity is so cheap, men don't demand anything. There was a black guy that lost his life in Arkansas, Texas, trying to break up a domestic dispute. But now he's dead.
Yep.
So many men have died, Paul, trying to defend the honor of a woman, like you said, based on that nonsense called chivalry. Let me show you something real quick, because this proves my point about what you were saying about romanticism and hold tight, romanticism and why men need to get out of that. Hold tight.
The guy I'm talking to sent me money for groceries, $300 because I didn't have any food. Then I get a text from him later asking me to cook him dinner. Told him no because I'm not his wife. And I only cook for my kids and my husband. And he's neither of them. Now I'm blocked, shaking my head. Like, who asks a woman to cook for them before he puts a ring on it?
Oh, yeah.
Feminists are mainly white, middle-class female liberals who have no idea how the real world works and yet want to advise you on how to live in it. You can now wait till 40 to have a baby, freeze your face, work in an air-conditioned office, spending money you don't have, marry someone to pay it off, divorce him, put him on alimony and child support, get a Roomba, abort your kid, have unprotected sex on camera, get paid for it, order any cooked food to your door, get a self-driving car, and then complain to men that they caused you to be lazy and fat. You win. You guys will never be happy until men are nothing but empty shells. Feminism has empowered women to destroy this country through the death of 1,000 cuts. Feminism is not about equality, it's about insidious domination. It has been a slow creep to where women are complaining about their non-existent oppression. I am curious to know feminists' plan when men refuse to stop providing, protecting, and maintaining the civilization you enjoy corrupting. Feminists are about to f*** around and find out.
This black woman, who was cared for by her boyfriend for a year after surgery, decided to leave him because she felt he wasn't romantic enough, which drew widespread criticism. The woman underwent a serious brain operation and could not afford a professional caregiver during recovery. Her boyfriend quit his job and became her full-time caretaker for an entire year. During that time, he handled all daily care, including feeding her, helping with rehabilitation, and even cleaning her bodily waste. After a year of recovery, the woman's health improved, but the financial damage remained because the man had not worked for so long, he fell behind on bills and accumulated debt. To recover financially, he is now working 3 jobs to cover basic living expenses. The woman has since complained that her boyfriend is no longer romantic. She said he is always busy with work and does not take her out on dates, leading her to question whether she should stay in the relationship. Some people argue that many people can take someone on dates, but very few would give up a year of their life to do what he did. Others believe the woman leaving might actually be a relief for the man, allowing him to move on from a relationship that no longer values his sacrifice. What would you think if your girlfriend did the same thing?
One sentence from this woman sent the internet into a war after she said this about black men: why she's not your sister.
What happened to men just shedding the and going to work every time? It's a podcast. It's a meme. It's a stream. Take y'all ass to work. Shut y'all talk too damn much about nothing. About how y'all ain't giving the woman motherfucking money. We don't want to hear it. Okay?
What do you think about that level of disrespect, Paul, from those clips?
No entitlement to any of this at all. My goodness.
What do you think about that level of disrespect? Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Well, first I want to take the opportunity. You played that great clip from Pearl Davis. I got a shameless plug here. I'll be interviewing Pearl for my podcast next week on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Paul Elam on YouTube. Anybody want to check that out? It's going to be interesting.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, the moral bankruptcy in this is really just staggering. And this is what I see from most men. You know, recently I talked to a guy, took care of his wife through 2 rounds of cancer. And I mean, 24/7, took care of everything, cleaned the house, cooked, cleaned up after her, worked, paid all the bills, did everything, took her to all her medical appointments, went through 2 rounds of cancer with her, and then he had a heart attack. And she said, "I'm not taking care of you, get out."
Oh my goodness. Are you serious?
I am dead serious.
Oh my goodness, man. Paul, come on, brother.
Yeah. And it is, we are being, and we volunteer for it. So again, I'm not trying to rescue the men from this, but the exploitation here is just shameless. It's
It is shameless, right?
You're here to take care of me. I don't care what it costs you. I don't care if it costs your career. I don't care if you get in debt. I don't care if you don't have a nickel to your name when you're done taking care of me. You owe it to me. And then when you break yourself taking care of me, I'm going to get rid of you. That is evil.
That's evil.
It's evil.
Right.
And it's just, again, this last woman you had on there said, she thinks that men ought to shut up and they don't want to hear it. Well, too bad, because you're going to be hearing it. The internet is the big game changer.
It's the big game changer. Yep.
You mentioned that earlier.
Yep.
Used to be socially that if I were to say what I believed in social circles before the internet, I would just get shut down and ostracized, right? And so we were forced into silence about this forever. Oh, but all of a sudden we got this thing like a public square now, and anybody can talk that wants to. Oh my God, that moment that we became that society with the internet, I believe it was game over for women. At that point, they're just now starting to figure it out. And you can see it in Gen Z men who aren't even interested in
They're not even interested. And listen, I feel so. I mean, I got good girls, man. They're virginal good girls. I'm hoping, I can link my girls up with some good men. But man, Paul, listen, if I was a single man, again, brother, I would never look at the typical American woman. I would argue, Paul, that less than 10% are even worthy of being wives. I would say 10 to 20%. What would you say?
You're a very generous man.
I'm very generous.
Yes, you're very. I think it's less than 5.
You think it's less than 5? Okay.
Yeah, less than 5 women. No, less than 5. Less than 5%.
Is it less than 5?
But I think it's less than 5% of men anymore that are suitable for good, healthy relationships.
I agree.
So it's not a slant on women. It's what we've come to. But this entitlement, I think that it's game over for them. And in that sense, it isn't AWOL. It's I'm discharged. I got my walking papers. I'm done here.
Right.
There ain't no coming back. And
yes, sir.
And I'm happy to see it. I'm
Me
happy
too.
to
I am
see
too.
young men saying,
I'm
not signing up for any of this narcissistic
Yes, sir.
garbage
I
out
totally
of women.
agree.
I'm not going on dates that feel like job interviews and be scrutinized and then handed the bill for it.
Right.
I mean, it's like, at least on a job interview, they don't charge you anything. But
they don't charge you nothing, right?
Women do. You got to pay to apply.
You got to pay. But listen, it's gotten so bad now, Paul. These new generation of women say you got to pay them a cash app.
Yes. Oh my.
You got to cash app them, Paul. Before you
They come with a tap pad. Here you go, baby. Just tap that card right there. Let's get this transaction done, and then it'll get mad at you if you call relationships transactional.
Oh, it's definitely transaction. That's why I call it wholeflation. You get more for less. And I didn't hear bigger podcasters were saying that. I had a show with my friend Peace for Life. Shout out to him. And he believed in the merits of peace. And he was talking about relationship capitalism. And then I parroted that with wholeflation, because wholeflation says that I'm going to give you less, but I'm demanding more. Look at what your grandmother got and what your grandfather got and what your father got in general. Most men back then got women that were virgins. They got virginal women. I mean, they were virgin, wife ready, no kids, and they understood the assignment. Men now are not getting there. If you get a woman with under 5, you got a unicorn. That's a unicorn. I've heard guys, Paul, tell me about women that they say if a woman got 30 bodies, that's low. I want you to listen to this whole tape.
Wanted a good black man.
Right now, too many grown women saying, no, hookup culture's okay. Yeah, baby, get what you need to get. They already ruined their lives. Don't let these grown 30, 40, 50-year-old single, bitter, jaded women ruin these young 20-something-year-olds that actually still have a shot. These young 18-year-olds that still have a shot.
That's how I feel.
And that's the problem. There are too many women that are out here ruining the shot for young women because we're not being honest. We're saying, no, baby, you can be sexually liberated. You can go on this sex walks. You can feel good inside of your body and you can do whatever you want. What life do they have that you want? The women that are saying this, they're single and jaded and bitter. The majority. Are there exceptions to the rule? Yes, of course there are. There's always an exception to the rule, but we don't speak to the exception. We speak to the majority. And the majority of women are getting used up and recycled by a bunch of different men that are never going to wife them. They don't want to marry the man that is actually good for them because he doesn't look good. And the fact that the 4 6s is what matters the most to a woman in 2026, that's the problem.
Yeah.
The measuring stick is so low.
I just feel like people, yes, what you're saying is should understand that that's not what people do.
I ain't gonna tell people we should anything. All I'm saying is if you choose to be a sexually liberated woman, the odds of you marrying, being chosen by a high value, high earning, masculine man is a steep decrease. The more men you've slept with, the odds are even worse. That's just what it is. And
now, I like what you're saying, Paul. That's what when some traditional conservative women, and I think she means well, but I think we got to be careful truncating men based on high value, based on money.
I couldn't agree more. Man.
I think it's disrespectful to some degree, Paul. Go ahead.
We got to get through the code speak. High value man means more of this.
You're right.
It's like you're going to take better care of me. And this is why I'm not particularly more trustful of conservative women than I am liberal women, because they're feminists.
Yes.
To a core. So many of these women that are anti-feminist, they're saying, oh, feminism's terrible. Women have done this. But I want a high-value man to romance me and take care of me. They're running on the same script. And when push comes to shove, they're feminist. They don't want to give up. I watch them on Fox News. They talk about being anti-feminist, but they don't want to give up that power.
They don't want to get the power up, and that's the key defining point. Or they want the relationship on their terms while proclaiming themselves to be godly women. True women of God do things based on godly principles. She follows the man leadership, but you're correct. You got a generation of simps that don't know how to lead. They won't lead. They're afraid to lead. Listen how this woman disrespect her husband, Paul. Hold on.
That proved what most masculine men knew, and the internet went crazy.
4 keeps TV.
Boy, you ain't gonna do shit but shut the hell up and keep paying these bills like you always do. I'm gonna make some dinner. The guys kept putting the rest of my stuff together, so I'm gonna cook for them.
Fuck you mean you gonna cook for them?
These men is working late. You know what time it is? I'm gonna feed these men. They ain't eat shit.
Okay, them niggas should have ate for they came. You working for money, not for food.
Come on, dude. You know it's called hospitality. Like, be for real. Don't start with that insecure ass shit.
That ain't hospitality. You doing too much.
Man,
doing too much.
Y'all eat tacos?
Nah, man, I'm good.
Man, listen. Nah, y'all good. I'm finna cook y'all something. Like, these men doing me a favor.
You cook them some shit if you want to.
Boy, you ain't gonna do shit but shut the hell up and keep paying these bills like you always do. Don't forget who run this shit. Hell, you talking about? Fuck off my phone.
So that's the bias. I probably.
And the question is she right?
apparent, because I promise you, Paul, this didn't start overnight, brother. This didn't start overnight. This he saw the red flags early on, but he chose to ignore them, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, the fact that he's even still talking to her,
right?
I mean, that phone should have gone dead the moment her mouth started running.
Right.
But this is, unfortunately, men have come to expect this as the new normal. In a sense, it is kind of a new normal, which is why I have very little sympathy for men, because they put up with this. And I say this as somebody, I simped the first half of my adult life. I was total simp, man, terrible. But at some point, where is your self-respect?
Where's your self-respect? Right.
And a guy that is allowing a woman to talk to him like that and still paying her bills, man, you whatever he gets, he's got coming to him.
Well, but they're compromised men. They're probably raised by single moms. A lot of them, they're compromised. I'm gonna say this, and I know you got to go. I'm gonna play this little small clip, and I know you got to go. I enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to doing the show with you at some point too.
Absolutely. I would love that.
I would argue that the average man has never had an orgasm. You might say, well, what do you mean by that? That's stupid. Well, I'm going to explain. The average man has never been stimulated by a feminine woman that was kind. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a physical orgasm. I'm talking about a mental orgasm where he's been around raw femininity that makes him feel good. And so what's happening now is that men are beginning to go abroad and go overseas to get that raw femininity. And what's happening, Dr. Smith, when these men come back, they're actually having a catharsis because they've never gotten that raw.
Here's why she is afraid.
Babe, be honest. How many women have you been with before me? What's your number?
5. 2 serious relationships, 3 casual dates. What about you? What is your number?
Why does that matter? The past is the past. Stop being so insecure. It's different for guys. You shouldn't ask a woman that question.
So, you want my history, but yours is a secret?
Huh?
Sarah, when I buy a used car, I ask for the Carfax. I need to know the mileage and the accidents. I don't buy a car blindly, and I definitely don't marry blindly.
Did you just compare me to a used car? I am a human being. My past makes me who I am. If you loved me, you wouldn't care about my history.
You are applying for the position of wife. In the real world, no CEO hires an employee without checking the resume. If you hide your resume, it's usually because you're unqualified for the job.
You are a misogynist. You verify everything. Where is the trust?
Trust is earned. Data is verified.
So one of the biggest issues, guys, with this whole body count situation, the body count thing is that women don't primarily understand male psychology. Men by nature are wired to conquer. Men by nature are wired to protect the things that they love. And the whole issue with the sexual revolution is that the sexual revolution told women that they can live like men, act like men, and assume that all men are sleeping around with multiple women. But that's not the case. And when that happens a lot of times, women have what's called a cognitive break because they understand at a very visceral level that their behavior is bad, but they don't want to deal with the consequences. This is another keeping it kosher, keeping it raw with kosher moment. And with truth is stranger than fiction.
Every brother, would you tap another brother and say, I should have listened to her? God help me. Old saints, y'all forgive me, but I got to tell you, these hoes ain't loyal.
Pastor Jamal.
I'll forever submit.
This is what we talked about, Paul. Listen to this.
I will forever submit to you. I'll forever submit to you, Miles. I'll forever respect you, Miles. I'll forever honor you, Miles, as the head of our home and no other. There is no other, there is no one, no plans of hell will ever prosper in our marriage and will ever hold me not to be a wife that is a Proverbs 31 woman. I will become that woman that builds the home as I follow you, as you follow Christ. That is the only thing that we will do in our household. And I promise and I vow that in heaven, they hear. On earth, I declare and decree, I shall be a submissive wife.
Now look at the difference, Paul, between that woman's demeanor. That's a woman that hasn't had a lot of trauma. She's probably a virgin. She haven't been ran through. You know, her eyes ain't looking like good father, right?
Yep.
Her eyes are not spinning like some on the Twilight Zone for all that DNA in her brain. And so women, that's why I say, Paul, that if a woman doesn't have emotional regulation, if she doesn't understand structure and order taught by her father, because the father is the bridegroom, he's the groomer, but then the husband is the bridegroom. The husband continues the traditions of the father. Now, women don't like the term, Paul, when it says that a man is supposed to groom or teach his wife. They don't like that, train. But we all are trainable. Men have to be trained by master teachers. And we all get trained when we go to school, but somehow when it comes down to a husband training them or grooming them, it's a problem. That woman, because she hasn't been ran through, can pair bond with a man. She has a higher chance of pair bonding through orgasm, but women that have had several partners a lot of times probably have what's called oxytocin abuse. You know, they burnt out. and you're not getting nothing special. You know what I find so crazy, Paul? They want to wear white dresses and be treated like princes and treated special. You're not special.
You know, that white dress does not look good with that run-through stare you got on your face. It just doesn't match.
Right. What'd you think about that clip real quick before you go, brother?
It is refreshing to know that there are still some people out there that get it. And it's encouraging. I wish it was the standard, but the reason we're watching that is because it's the exception, unfortunately.
It's a rare exception.
It's a very rare exception. God bless that woman and that man for setting things up the way they're supposed to be set up. I'd love the fact that she embraced her submission as a form of strength, which is what it is.
It is. It's a form of strength, right?
And look, people can get mad all they want to, but look, we all train each other how we're going to be treated.
We all train each other.
Yeah,
I 100% agree. Right.
That's part of being a human being. We show people how we're willing to be treated, how we're not willing to be treated, what we'll tolerate, what we won't tolerate. We literally train everybody how to treat us. And you can be offended by that, but again, you know, take it up with God, take it up with Darwin, take it up with another way that you can make sense of it. But this is what we do.
You said something before you go, Paul. You said that you were a recovering simp. And you said that you had to go do simp recovery. You had to say, God, grant me surrender, help the things I cannot change, but the knowledge and courage to know the difference. Tell the audience real quick about your simp story, and when did you have your existentialist moment?
It really came for me after I got red pilled. I got first red pilled in 93. It was probably 2004, 2005 before I finally digested that red pill. But I came to a decision that I was never going to do anything ever again the same way with women. I was through trying to impress them, through taking care of them in the ways that modern women want to be taken care of, which is basically being indulgent and pampering them and whining and dining. I'm not talking about taking care of them in the way of building a home. I'm talking about taking care of their childish side, which is what women have come to expect in this culture. And I got fed up with myself. I looked back at how I'd behaved with women, the way I just threw my own self-respect. I threw friendships under the bus. If a guy said anything negative about some terrible woman I was with, I would get rid of him. And I looked back at that, and I looked at myself in disgust at my own life and said, what is wrong with you? Where is your spine?
Where's your spine? Right.
Yeah. Why you been, and something clicked in me in the early 2000s that is like, this has got to change. I can't live this way anymore.
Right.
And I've been a monster ever since.
You definitely been a monster, man. Have you gotten death threats, Paul, being this?
Yeah, I've had a few.
How do you do? How do you deal with it?
I got lots of guns.
What'd you say? Peace be still. Peace be
yes. No, look, people mouth off on the internet. I've gotten threatening emails and stuff like that. And we did a conference back in 2014 in the Detroit area, and people phoned in death threats, said they were going to shoot up the hotel we were in and kill hotel employees. That stuff happens. Speaking the truth is a dangerous business.
It is.
We have a history in America of killing people who speak the truth all the way back to Jesus.
Yes, sir.
This is what we do, is we don't like people that speak the truth. I would rather live on my feet like that and tell the truth and risk it. I don't know how much risk there really is, but there's some.
Yeah.
But I'd rather live that way. I'm too old now to care.
I feel the same way. Once you get a certain age, I'm about dead anyway, so I'm gonna die fighting.
It's like, come on, we'll take us both down.
Right. What would be your closing comments, a young man, moving forward, man? After this conversation,
I want to say thank you for doing this. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I'd like to extend it and do it again sometime.
Yes, sir.
obviously would like to encourage people to come to my YouTube channel at
Yes,
Paul
sir.
Elam.
Yes, sir.
And to get on to the new podcast. We're talking about this stuff in depth every week on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. We've had great shows so far. We'll have another one again when you come back and do my show. These are the conversations we want to have. It's about men living autonomous lives with dignity, with self-respect.
Yes, sir.
I believe with a relationship with God being at the core of that. But for men who aren't believers, I respect you too.
Yes, sir.
But again, I encourage you, find something more important than you to live for.
Man, I totally agree, brother.
Yeah, and do that, and things will work out right. And just as long as that's something more important to you isn't a woman. Because if you make another single human being your higher power, you're totally lost.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's no
Yes,
hope
sir.
in that.
Yes, sir.
It's a waste.
And you know what? Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
man. I know you got to go, man, and I appreciate it, man. I see so many women, man. They drunk the Kool-Aid. They didn't reproduce. They wear the mask like they're happy, but they're really sad. But anyway, thank you, man. You've been very gracious with your time. I know you got to go. We'll be talking on the back end, man, at some point. Be good, brother.
Sounds good. Thank
All right,
you.
man.
Take care.
Yes, sir. God bless, brother. All right. Be good. All right, guys. That's my man, Paul Elam, man. This is a powerful show, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Yeah, he subscribed, no doubt, man. And guys, go check out Paul Elam. Paul Elam is a OG, and we do these shows, guys, because we want to see you men win. And guys, listen, don't forget to get your shirt. I'm trying to get special orders in. This is a new moniker that I created called AWOL. American Women Offers Less, and it basically saying that American women that we're not saying all, but the majority of American women don't really give men anything of value, man. You know, we know there are some good ones. If you're a good woman, we're not talking about you. But they offer less. So guys, put in your orders for your AWOL t-shirts. We got another great show coming up tomorrow with my man David Anderson, hopefully, talking about static blackness, another psychological condition that's impacted a lot of folks. And guys, I want to send a special shout out to once again, St. James Palmer for being the #1 sponsor follower with Brother Ray Johnson, always showing love. And guys, don't let those brothers be the only one that support the stream on tonight. Don't let those guys be the only ones to support the stream. So we're going to sign off. Actually, I'm going to play a little bit of this clip of Dr. Helen Smith. Hold on for a minute. Hold tight.
He feels bad after the fact, but he has very porous boundaries. And many times the contraceptive, Dr. Smith, has what's called, if I ever write a book, I'm going to put this in my book too. The next one, contraceptive. He's been conditioned. He's been conditioned through a concept called introjection. And introjection is something that happens a lot of times with young boys when they're being raised by women. So that's the unconscious self. He supplements an irrational male pattern of behavior. And what it does, it creates a disbalance of power. And then the next one, Dr. Smith, is called, because if I ever write a book, I'm going to put this in my book too. The next one is called the conscious self. The conscious self understands what's going on. Adam was a conscious self. You know, he knew that, you know, he shouldn't allow his wife's emotions to get the best of him, but he did. So the conscious self, what he does, he sacrifices important masculine principles to appease the woman. He's aware of what he's doing, but he does it anyway because he doesn't want to make her upset. So you got the unconscious self, many times raised in single parent homes by mothers, and then you got the conscious self that knows what he's doing. He feels bad after the fact, but he has very porous boundaries. And many times the conscious self, Dr. Smith, has what's called insecure attachment style. His attachment style is very insecure, so therefore he doesn't have boundaries. He want to make everybody happy. And this is very problematic in relationships because in healthy relationships, there are boundaries. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right about a lot of those things. And I talked to a lot of the men for my new book, and they talk about being raised by, say, a single mom. And a lot of men have internalized the single mother's way of emotional they've internalized what it is to be a woman because they don't have that father figure in the home to show them. What do dads show them? We know that dads show boys how to have boundaries and how to act as a man and how to deal with anger and how to, just how to act and behave in the world. And a lot of those boys don't see that. All they see is a feminine way of behaving. And one of the guys I talked to was telling me about how he'd see men out there screaming and carrying on like women. And he sees young boys acting the same way. And it's because they're not really around those role models, whether that be at school, whether that be at home, where they can see how would you act as a man. So I think you're right. There are a lot of men out there. And I think simping, I think people placate women because they don't want any trouble. And the thing is, you have to be strong enough to deal with trouble. You have to, as a man, trouble, you just have to understand. And I think men do have a hard time. Like, there's a saying in a Psychology Today article that said that men will do anything. They will contort themselves in any way psychologically so that they don't get a woman angry. And I think we need to change that because we are so afraid of making a woman angry. Even people yell at me for making a woman angry. I'm sorry.
Right.
So what? What if a woman's angry? We need to learn to tolerate that. And people go on that, women can't show anger. My God, I've never seen so many angry people in my life. These women today are the angriest people I've ever seen. They're very free.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And take a man out and do anything and hit a man or whatever. And men are just taught to retreat. And I think that's a very difficult combination with women going forward with their anger. Women are being taught to act like the men that they think they should be, not what men truly are. Most men I know are fairly gentlemen, or they're gentle. Especially a bigger man has learned to be more of a gentleman.
Right, that's true.
Very free to attack people, to scream, and to yell. Society says that's okay, but if a man shows the least anger, somehow he's an abuser. He's horrible. And I think we're so afraid of male anger, and we're so conditioning of female anger and saying that that's okay in our society because we are trying to empower women in this false empowerment. It's not empowerment. It's about driving men away. And I think that's what your shows are about. They're about how women are driving men away and men are retreating and they're just doing their own thing. But at the same time, it's driving people apart, and it makes for a very difficult society, and we don't trust each other anymore. And I think it's harmful and it's sad.
And I think also, Dr. Smith, if you look at, and guys, go check out Dr. Smith's book, his site. Put the link, Dr. Smith. Do you have the link to your books? I'm gonna let the guys go get your books, and I can put it up for you. But this has been going on since the advent of the 90s, the 80s with Oprah and Dr. Phil and Sally Jesse Raphael. So that's why I say it hadn't gotten better, it's gotten worse. So when you see a cancer metastasizing, it's not that you're saying that, I'm gonna hope that the cancer goes away. You just realize that it is what it is, and you're going through an existentialist crisis, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so what a lot of men say, that in order for the crisis to change, then we can either burn the cancer out or we got to start all over again. And that's what a lot of men are saying. We're to start all over again. Maybe the next generation will get it, because men want to be happy. They want relationships. They want marriages. But this new generation of men now, they don't care about that stuff.
They don't care. And I've talked to young men, and there's 2 chapters in my book, and this is the new book. It's his side, and there's young, middle-aged, and older men. And 2 of the chapters in there are about young men, particularly for there's a chapter on regular guys, and then there's a chapter on fraternity men. And all of these guys, these young men in their early 20s, they understand what's happening. When I talk to them, they know, and they all say that their girlfriends are liberal, but they really do understand what's happening. And a lot of these guys are like really wondering if they even should get married to these types of women. And so I think before they didn't understand, now they do. And, I think that awareness and that education and helping men, like in the way you're trying to help men, I think that men are becoming more educated. And I think that bothers people because in our society, nobody wants men to get together. I think there's this denial of male space. We used to have male space where men could get together. They could talk through some of these problems. We don't have clubs for men anymore. There's a lot of things we don't have. And, a lot of men, everybody tells men to go to therapy for the mental health problems. But I'm like, only 6% of men who are usually asked even want to go to therapy.
Right.
And as we know, there aren't many therapists out there who are trained and understand what men are dealing with.
Yes. And they don't care because many therapists are trained. It actually just got so bad now, Dr. Smith. There was a lady, and I think she was from England, I believe, and she was talking about how academia now is training women intentionally, and also men, to be more towards the liberal side and not to be rational and objective in disseminating clinical treatment. And so I'm gonna try to get that later on my show as well, but it's basically talking about now they're not objective. They're trying to teach therapists to see things through the feminist theory lens or the Duluth model. They're not telling them to look at therapy objectively without bias, but they're training them
basically to be social justice warriors.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
The continuing education class, I just get appalled. People start talking about this kind of stuff, about how you're supposed to be a social justice warrior. And I'm like, I'm not out there as a social justice warrior. I'm out there trying to help somebody. Right. What is their problem? And I think part of that is we've gone away from the individual, and men are more individualistic. The men I talk to for my book, they are more.
We're going to end it here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to my man XL Pro in the house with that $10 super chat. Shout out to my dear brother XL Pro showing some love on tonight. Shout out to the #1 sponsor all the way from Rockaway. I'm gonna say Rockaway, New York. My man St. James Palmer, and all the way from the West Coast, brother R. Johnson. Man, I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Please hype the video. Go subscribe to Paul Elam. I knew about Paul years ago. Always wanted to get him on my show. I saw him on Jeff St. James' show. And he's definitely been somebody that I have been trying to get in contact with for a while, but not a while, but somebody I thought about after I saw him do a show with Dr. Helen Smith. So, guys, go hit the like button, go share the stream. Make sure you guys donate to the channel. Hype the video. Share this video, guys, with at least 10 like-minded men and women that believe in what I believe in, and also men that are looking for answers and solutions. And guys, thank y'all for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It took a lot of time to put this show together, but I do have I am coming back tomorrow with hold tight. I am coming back tomorrow with I plan to come back with my man Dave Anderson from the Business Bully. So I plan to come back with him on tomorrow, guys. And man, if you want to get your AWOL t-shirts, I'm gonna try to put this merch up soon at some point. To you guys that are listening, I got my Chicken George State University t-shirt. If y'all want to see the Chicken George State University t-shirt, let me know, and I'll show it to y'all, man. But share this stream and hype the video up. And guys, if you enjoyed the stream, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Go subscribe to Paul Elam. And guys, we are going to be signing off. So hype the video, guys. Share the stream. If you like the video, guys, hit the like button. So we're about to sign off, guys. And this has been another classic. And I'm going to be seeing you guys. I'm going to be seeing you guys at some point soon. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. 55 minutes after the hour, 9 o'clock, guys. This was another classic with Brother Paul Elam. Why Compromised Men Never Benefit from Defective Women was the title of the show. Hit the like button, guys. Share the stream. And let's keep this conversation going, because your very existence is at hand. Bringing it to you live once again from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green, where every day is Father's Day, and where manhood is part of hills and valleys, victories and failures, and whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause, only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. But before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles.
Nigga ass, loser ass nigga.
Your video with comments about a
He's a
certain
loser.
other female.
Just to let you niggas know, we don't need y'all. We want y'all, but we don't need you.
20 years later.
Our black men, we want all y'all back. Because we love you, we see you, kings. And most importantly, we need you. And most importantly, we need you.
And most importantly, we need you.
You can't.
If you a that's for the streets.
You can't delete the ski. You can't delete the ski.
I know
Fire for your mind. Kosher Clinician.
If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads picking back up and young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Absent fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters acting like vultures. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.